All right, all right. Hey, everyone. Thank you for tuning back in to the Keep It Real podcast with your host, Nicholas Salter. So I wanted to go over today something a little bit more close, a little bit more personal to me, and kind of leaning more towards the spirituality side. So more towards my Christian leanings. So if that's not really your speed, this might be the time to skip over to another episode. But even then, if you're not a believer, I still think it might be good to kind of listen to different perspectives that you may not be typically, you know, listen to or open to or maybe surrounded by. Just kind of makes you a more well-rounded human being altogether. So I think it still might be good to kind of be open-minded. But regardless, this episode, the reason how this came up was that I came from a Bible study, and we were just kind of discussing the importance of giving our testimonies, or basically giving information about our transformational experiences that we had in our personal and spiritual lives, that might be good for other people to listen to so they can relate to it, so they can feel seen and inspired by it. Uh, and I think that this is important because even when I first kind of started this podcast, which I'll kind of get into this a little bit later as well, I did it with mind and with the hope that if I can share my own personal experiences and the things that I've been through and I've learned in life and I am currently learning so far, um, and just kind of share my journey, that it could be helpful for other people and their growth and development. So I think a testimony kind of serves a similar purpose to where, like, it can kind of open people's up their hearts and their minds, up to what God's grace can kind of help deliver and what it can give. If one were to want to learn more about it, kind of be open to it. But kind of go into what that looks like for me. Um, I know that in my college experience, which hell, even going back to my very first episode that I made, called Humble Beginnings. It's a shorter one, about 10 minutes. My first intro podcast, which come this October will be 6 years old, which is crazy to think that I've been doing this for over half a decade here in the next few months. It doesn't even feel like it. Like time just flies by. Like for all the young people out there, I mean, I guess I'm young. I'm only 27, but still, for the younger people out there, life moves by fast, and it feels like it's moving by faster as I get older. So just sometimes we might go through things in life, and it seems like that we might be in this terrible season of life forever. I say just keep in mind that it may not be as long as you think it is, and when you look back, it probably wouldn't have been that long. And I say that to say is that my testimony kind of goes back towards when I was back in college, actually around the time where I was kind of making this podcast. Like maybe uh, I went through a couple low points in college, but I feel like my lowest points was kind of before I made my initial podcast episode. And then my second lowest point was probably my junior year. And that's when really I kind of was trying to look for something to get into to kind of help find who I am, express myself, and kind of take my mind off of things. um and that was so, but still I think this podcast, the purpose of what I want to accomplish was still kind of being formulated. Kind of, this was the initial steps during this freshman and sophomore year. I was kind of going through this, that kind of helped set me up for wanting to do a podcast later on down the road, so it's kind of all connected. But essentially, I was kind of going through a rough time my freshman year, because I was going to a new school where I didn't know anybody. Like, there's a fresh start going down to A&M, and I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. I joined the ROTC program called the Corps of Cadets and did the marching band there, which I've seen some videos online back from like the early 2000s about what it was like. And I was initially like, absolutely fucking not. I will never do this in the history of time. Like, this is not going to happen. Um, but, long story short, I guess I might get into it a little bit. I feel like it all kind of feeds into each other. I wasn't initially going to do the Corps. I was kind of deciding between A&M and Baylor at the time, but Baylor was hella expensive from a tuition standpoint, so A&M was cheaper. But I also wanted to get into good marching band because that's what I did when I was in high school, and I enjoyed doing that. And I felt like doing some kind of organization on campus would be a great way to kind of branch out, make some friends, kind of help find some solidarity, and help kind of reinforce my identity in these years by having like a tribe, like a people you can kind of like surround yourself with, similar core values. You know, you start having friend groups. Like you just won't go in there isolated and alone. Because I feel like that can happen to like a lot of people, like a lot of kids come from high school, especially if they weren't the most socially adept or the most popular. They may have a hard time kind of forging new connections and new relationships. So I didn't want that to be me. I feel like I didn't really. I feel like I'm pretty good at forming relationships and friendships if I'm being intentional about it. But I also know that I can kind of go into hermit mode if I'm not being intentional about trying to take care of my relationships. So I think I can kind of lean either way depending if I'm not paying attention or not. So I didn't want me to lean into the isolationist um, standpoint going into college. So I wanted to go into something. So that's why I thought marching band. Sorry, it was I always in it. I liked it, and I wanted something to kind of help keep my mind off just my schoolwork and stuff like that. So, but I was hesitant about joining the Corps because I knew how hard those guys worked, and I knew how difficult that would be with my studies. I just didn't know how difficult it was going to be until I actually joined it. So I had second guesses about that because I mean I didn't want to fail. I mean I still have a fear of failure. Like I think it's gotten better over the years to where I can withstand some more uncertainty. You know, otherwise I wouldn't buy a house, right? But at the same token, I still like you know there's still some things where I have to kind of like pause and be like, oh shit, do I really want to do this? Like, do I really want to, you know, possibly encounter the possibility of this not going my way? That's and at least from what I've learned from other people in my life and other adults and other things like that, it's like this is a fear. Like the fear will never go away. I feel like that will always be an aspect of life that we are going to have to learn how to reconcile and deal with. But still, that being said, I was still scared. And I was just uncertain that if I'd be able to kind of make it through. Like, can I live up to those kind of expectations and that kind of pressure and maintain good standing in my grades and just balance all this stuff well? Like, wasn't sure if I had it in me, if I was that kind of person, you know. And then, you know, after talking to some people in the Corps of Cadets, multiple people there, I talked to students there that were older, a little bit further along, like junior and senior, saying like, Nick, you'll be fine. You know, we've all been through it. Like, you know, it might be a little rough at the start, but you know, things will work themselves out. You'll make friends, you'll make good memories. Everything will be okay. And then I remember speaking to like this one dude. I forgot what his name was. And maybe it's probably good I forgot what his name is, so I don't like give away anyone's identity. But I remember he was like one of the leaders of the cadets at that time, and he was giving like the tour around with me, my mom, and everything. He kind of showing us the dorms, kind of showing us a little bit about what the day to day was like. So I didn't go in there completely blind, but I didn't do what's called like a spend the night with the Corps, to where I actually spend like a day or two with like a certain outfit or like with basically with a certain group of people, a certain division within the Corps, to see what their schedule and what the day to day is going to actually be like. I didn't do that, so I just kind of got like a rundown, like a verbal synopsis of what that's like, and like seeing a few activities out there on the quadrangle with some cadets running around and stuff. But I still didn't fully know. And the guy was kind of giving the summary, showing me my mom the dorms, and I'm just like, man, this seems like I am in over my head for sure. And the guy could see the doubt on my face and stuff like that. And he's like, "Okay, son, what are you worried about?" And I'm just like, look, sir, I'm gonna be transparent with you. I'm just not sure if I got what it takes to make it through this thing. You know, I'm just not sure if I'm gonna be dedicated enough or strong enough. Like I just don't know. And he's like, "Well, I mean, son, I'd say look at it this way. It's like what do these young men have here that you don't? Like really, truly, what do they have?" Um, and at first I wanted to be like, well, I mean, muscles, maybe they're smarter, maybe they're more disciplined, maybe they come from like a household to where like it was a military style household to where they were raised in this kind of environment most of their life, so they're used to this shit by now. I don't know. So I was like my normal self. I was ready to come up with 10 different excuses to why this is the case. But thinking about it even a layer deeper than that, I was like, okay. really on a fundamental level, they are not really different from me, because I also grew up in a very disciplined household. And then in high school, I was always like on top of my stuff, high performer, like, taking my stuff seriously with my schoolwork and doing the marching band. I was like, well, section leaders, one of the section leaders for drumline my senior year in high school. So like, I knew some elements of leadership and how to lead myself to a certain degree. So it's not that I haven't done anything worthwhile in my life or haven't done anything difficult, but it's just this seemed like it's like next level. And I was just kind of concerned with my ability to do it. But really looking at it, I think the point he was trying to make was that, you're never gonna be like fully ready. It's just one of those things where it's you kind of learn when you're on the job. And this is a lesson that I kind of learned repeatedly throughout my core years that I kind of kept coming back to, kind of going over from my overarching message of where I feel like what God was trying to kind of tell me in this season of my life. But I mean, that's the thing. I think my problem is back then, even still now to a certain degree, is that like I like to be in control of everything. I like to um, make sure I know what's coming and make sure I know I have the ability to handle it. But I mean, again, from being a Christian standpoint, is that like that's not how things work. There's like God would kind of send things your way to where you would kind of have to lean on Him in order to make it through and go through. The strength is not supposed to be all on your own. Like there's a reason why He gives you certain relationships, like with your friends and your family, your other loved ones in your life, because like it's not about always being prepared. It's about when you do get through the storm, you remember that you have other people that you can depend on and God to depend on as well, and that He's not going to bring you through to a certain circumstance and not be able to bring you through that circumstance, right? He would not be able to give you anything that you wouldn't be able to overcome with his help. Like it's one thing to cognitively know that; it's another thing to live through that. And I think these last 4 years, and those 4 years in the Corps, I was living through that shit like day by day. So I did I listened to the guy, and I was like, you know what, sir, I think you have a point. I think these guys, they don't really have much different from me from what I have inside of my character and what I know I have and what I know I'm capable of, what I know I can do. He's like, well, I mean, if that's the case, then I think you should consider it. So after going through that message and talking with my folks, and my folks saying, "Hey, Nick, for the kind of man that we know that you want to be, and the kind of leader that we want to be, that you want to turn into, we think this is the best for your development." Which was a sobering conversation, because I was like, man, I feel like my parents are low key kind of calling me a pussy just a little bit. But at the same token, I feel like that they're just trying to be transparent, where it's like, yeah, Nick, you kind of grew up in kind of privileged circumstances, which is great. They wanted to give me a good life, and everything, but they kind of wanted to help instill in me that, the world's not going to be an easy place, and that there's going to be times to where the fight is going to be brought to your front door, and you're going to have to be ready to combat that. You're going to have to be ready to fight, to throw down, to really, battle for the life that you want to have. Um, and I think this is those moments. It's like in the hero's journey, like the Joseph Campbell, the monomyth, which is a lot of stories are based upon. It's called there's a section of the story of the plot. So there's like different sections of an overall arching story that most stories kind of follow a similar pattern of. So like, the hero gets introduced to, so there's like, usually the hero, the protagonist, and then the villain, the antagonist. And there's like the ordinary world, the world and the environment that the hero is used to. And then there's the unordinary world, which is the world that the hero ventures into in order to go in there and defeat the evil monster, bring peace to the unique world's kingdom, and take back a lesson that he learned from that kingdom back to his ordinary world, and come back like a changed person, or come back and change his ordinary world from his lessons that he gained. But the very start of that journey is what's called the call to adventure, right? So, and this is, I mean, not to go all ADHD and like bounce between the lines here, but this is also kind of similar to a lot of Jordan Peterson's early messages, and even some of his messages now. Some lectures, he's still releasing lectures online, even though he's kind of sick right now. But even his lectures right now, he kind of talks about like, hey, to grow as a person is going to require you to put yourself into sometimes uncomfortable circumstances. And hell, you may not even put yourself in there. Life may just put you in uncomfortable circumstances where your growth, it just kind of forces you to grow. It kind of puts you into cocoon, sometimes voluntarily or involuntarily, and you're just forced to grow and change in that cocoon over a course of a season, and you emerge as a different kind of person or with a new lesson. You kind of get put into the forge, so to speak, and then you get tempered and you get hardened to become a more effective tool, a more effective sword, a more effective weapon. But it takes a lot of heat and pressure, and you get taken out of the fire. You get tempered, then you get put back into the fire, then you get forged some more, and then just that ongoing ever reinforcement process that's occurring within the heart and soul of an individual. But there's always that initial call to where it's like, hey, like basically my point with Jordan Peterson, he talked about how God kind of called Abraham to get thee out thine own country, right? As in, leave the place that's you're currently comfortable in, that you're kind of really stagnating, really currently in your current situation, and step out into the unknown world. Rely upon me, rely upon God's grace and his strength to make it through these unforeseen circumstances and this stuff that you're just not going to be prepared for. You're not going to see coming, and have faith that things are going to work out. And that's really, again, a call to adventure. That's one of the initial calls to adventure, like, in the Bible. And then I feel like I mean, and a lot of the disciples went to that similar call to adventure when trying to follow Jesus. And I feel like, me personally, this was kind of like my call to adventure, to where God, I feel like he was almost challenging me to where it's like, Nick, I know you're scared, but this is the time for you to show me and show the world who you are, because you don't really get to see who a man is until you put him in difficult and challenging circumstances to see what his character is really like. Like, you'll see what a man is when he goes through adversity. And that's what I knew. I felt in my gut feeling to where it's like, this is going to be what I was kind of afraid to encounter most of my life, which is circumstances where I may not win, which I hated that, especially with me having identity, which I'm trying to work on now, based on me trying to be successful or trying to meet a set of external standards, and me feeling like I have security as long as all the external standards are being met. Like, I'm worthy of love and validation, all that stuff, as long as the external standards are being met. But that means I have to only encounter challenges, quote unquote challenges, that I can overcome for sure. Like, I have a definite outcome of success. But if you only participate in things that you don't have a definite outcome of success, then you're not really growing as a person. There's no need to grow your skill if you're winning all the time, right? It's kind of like Bane in Dark Knight Rises. It's like, victory has defeated you. He said that to Batman when Batman kind of sat on his ass for 7 years, uh, in self pity, and all of a sudden he wanted to get back into the game. And then Bane's like, dude, it's like you can't you can't just hop into a fight you haven't prepared for, man. You're gonna get your shit rocked, which he did. Um, and basically all that is to say is that I was afraid of saying yes, because I kind of knew in the back of my mind what was going to go down and what was going to happen, at least on a spiritual level. I didn't know what it was going to look like practically, because if I did, I probably wouldn't have done it. If I would have known in advance all the things I would have gone through doing the core cadet, I definitely would have said the fuck no. But I think that's part of the reason why God doesn't allow us to see into the future, because if he did, we probably wouldn't move, or we would stay exactly where we're at, because we don't want to encounter the things that we are meant to encounter. But that's why we have to have faith in him, and to lean not on your own understanding. Rest in him, and he will set your path straight, or something along those lines. Um, it's like we're not meant to understand every single step. We're just meant to have faith and just take the steps that we see before us initially, and just take each step that's unveiled piece by piece. And then we'll land where we're supposed to land, whether it's in our vision of what we wanted or it's not in our vision of what we wanted, because that, in the grand scheme of things, that really doesn't matter. That's where that humility comes in from the Bible and its teachings, where it's like, if God wants you to do something, or he wants you to be in a certain place, you're going to be in that place one way or another. That's kind of what we learned in Jonah's story, right? Where he tried to fight, trying to go to the man, I forgot where he's supposed to go to, but he's supposed to go somewhere and preach to people they didn't like. And he tried to run away from it. And God's like, no, 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 no. You're going there. Come hell or high water, you're going to go there. So and he ended up in the belly, and Jonah ended up in the belly of the whale because he refused to go where God wanted him to go. And then he basically had to get humbled in those few days he was in that belly. And he basically prayed to where, okay, God, I'll listen to you. I'll do what you want me to do. Just please, just get me out of here. Got him out of there. And he ended up doing what he had to do anyway, which now he had to do it smelling like fish, which if he would have just done it initially and not run away from it, he probably could have done it not smelling like fish and go through that horrific experience. So it's one of those things where like even and that's part of the reason why I said yes to doing the core as well, because in my heart of hearts, I'm like, I feel like if I keep running away from these challenges in life that I know are going to be difficult but are meant to grow me, all it's going to do is just make compound interest, and eventually the bill's going to come due. And God's be like, if you're going to go through some kind of difficult circumstance, so you can either do it voluntarily or you can do it later on involuntarily. But either way, you're going to do it. So that's why I was like, okay, maybe I would stand a better chance of overcoming this adversity if I just willingly say yes to doing it instead of having God have it thrust upon me unwillingly. But the only shitty part about doing that is that when you willingly decide to take on adversity, when shit hits the fan, because it will, you don't really have anyone else to blame. And I think that's one thing I have to recognize looking back at my core experience is that I chose to go through it. Like if I truly didn't want to do it, like, it's like even though my parents are paying for book my college tuition, it's like even if I really didn't want to do it, I could have left. But I didn't because I felt like if I did, I would have kind of betrayed myself, so to speak, and really betrayed the person that I was trying to become, like my ideal self, and almost in that kind of betraying what I feel like what God wants me to become, or like the man that I'm meant to be. Like if I don't stick it out, then what is Nicholas Salter really here for? So basically, that being said, I said yes to doing core. And it's so funny too because I remember they did doing the audition and everything, and I low key like tried to sabotage myself in the audition by like waiting till last minute to learn the sheet music because part of and again the band you had to kind of like practice a piece of music in front of the director, that you rehearsed, and that basically I didn't practice it. I kind of learned it in the car on my way over to the audition in the 3 hour car ride from my parents' house to College Station. Then I remember going to because I play percussion, I play snare drum, and I remember going to the drum room, put the drum on, and I recognized, oh man, this is a traditional drum. Traditional meaning as in like they actually do the whole strap across the body, and the drum's tilted to the side, so you have to play with what's called traditional grip, where basically there's your left hand flipped over, with the back of your hand facing the floor, and then and then in your right hand you'll just have your palm facing the floor instead. So that's traditional grip to where like they kind of play mismatched with their hand grip. Where in high school I played match grip to where you had the same grip for both left and right hand, and we had a harness for our drums. So the drum just sat straight and vertical instead of being tilted and off to the side. So basically, I had learned this sheet of music over a course of like maybe an hour or two, and then I had to play with a grip that I've never played with before on a kind of drum that I've never played on before in front of the music director. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is going to be the shittiest audition I've ever done before in my entire life. So I went there and I did the audition. I played the music to the best of my ability, which even then I still feel like I kind of fucked it up to a certain degree. But marching band music really isn't that hard to learn. Like it's pretty like straightforward, pretty repetitious patterns. It's not a very melodic kind of thing, especially for percussion. Like it's not really that complex. But even then, I still feel like I didn't do like a great job because again, I only learned it in like an hour and a half. So but I played it, and the director was like, "Oh, okay, you're actually a pretty good drummer. Yeah, that's pretty good." And my mind was just like in complete disbelief. 'Cause I'm just like, I don't think I could have sabotaged myself any harder than outside of like just not reading the music at all. In which case, by the way, we did have like a sight reading piece. So we had so we had like a short little music piece that we had to play before. And then on top of that, we had a sight reading piece, meaning that you basically got a random piece of music and had to learn how to play that on the spot that you've never seen before, and just do it live, basically. So I did both, and I thought I had butchered both, and he said, "No, you did great." So again, this might be an example of me having again perfectionistic standards, or which honestly, if I really think it is, this might be kind of shitting on them a little bit. I think that the music I played in high school was probably harder than what the college music was, so therefore I was kind of over prepared for the audition, unknowingly, by me just again having to just learn difficult stuff in my high school career. So therefore, I was being hard on myself because I know that what my standards are usually higher and that I can usually play better than this. But even my low standards are like their high standards because again, the music's just not that difficult. But regardless, the director was like, "Oh, yeah, actually pretty good, Nick. Yeah, so we love to have you have you on board and join one of these outfits." And I'm just like, "Huh." And I was just mind blown because I was like, there's no way in hell that worked out well in my favor. That's how in my gut I knew. And not only that, so there's also like a talk to where it's like, oh yeah, you also get like small like little like a grant, like a $2,000 a year grant per like unit, like for books and food and stuff like that for being in the Corps Cadets and uniforms and shit. I'm just like, oh, so I'm actually even getting some extra money by being in the Corps, which is like, huh. Well, shit. Again, it's almost like the whole universe is throwing stuff at me to like join this fucking program between my parents, the people I talk to, and then the core cadets, and then the adults, and then this audition. Despite my best efforts somehow going my way, I'm like, what the actual shit? It's like for some reason everything's just working out for me to join this program. That's why I'm like, it's just. I think I have to join. I think God's making it very explicit that I'm meant to be in this bullshit. I'm like, oh my god, like, there's no running away from this. Um, and basically, so he started going through outfits. I'm like, okay. And he was like, okay, so what outfit are you interested in? Like, did you do a spend the night? I'm like, no, I didn't. He's like, you didn't? I'm like, no. Like, do you have a preference? I'm like, and I literally said, what outfit is gonna like kick my ass the least? Like basically, I'm like, what outfit is like where I'm gonna have like the most fighting chance of like survival and not be like fucking depressed. And he's like, okay, Nick, I mean, I got you. He's like, let me see if I can put you in B battery. There's a lot of good people here. I feel like that your he didn't say these words verbatim, but essentially like, your vibe goes through B battery pretty well. Like it's like how I feel like you kind of come off as a person, and they're good people. They'll take care of you. I mean, it's not gonna be a cakewalk, but I mean, I think this will be a good fit for you. And I'm like, sure. I'm like, yeah, let's do that. I don't really have a frame of reference to see what which of these ads might be good or not. So, and honestly, I do think looking back that that is probably the best outfit because there's six band outfits in total. There's like infantry band and then artillery band, so it's cut in half, and then there's three batteries in each of those subsections of the band. So there's A battery, B battery, C battery, and then A company, B company, and C company. And honestly, between all of them, I guess if you ask anyone in the band outfits, they'd be like, oh yeah, mine was the best. I definitely picked the best one. So take this with a grain of salt. But I actually do firmly believe that B battery, in terms of balance of like being effective in schoolwork, being effective in fitness, being effective in leadership, and being effective in just like not being a fucking antisocial prick. I feel like we had the best balance out of all of them. Like we weren't the best in any necessarily category, if I'm being honest. I mean, I feel like out of people that wanted to hang out with us, like we're the most like guys that wanted to kind of come over and kind of drink and kind of party. Like we're probably the most kind of social group, I guess. But so I guess that's our main strength. But I feel like that we're pretty reasonably good or decent or average in all categories. Where some companies they're really good on fitness, like B Company was. But in my opinion, they're a bunch of assholes. I mean, there's some good people there, here and there, but I feel like a lot of them are kind of uppity, kind of pretentious, kind of full of themselves, look down on other people. But like their physical training was fucking intense as shit. They were definitely the most ripped and chiseled out of the bunch. I feel like they knew how to work, they knew how to work out for sure. But I'm not gonna go down every single one of them. But basically, each outfit was kind of known for their own kind of specialty or what they were kind of known for. And B Battery, I think, was the most balanced out of all of them. So that's the one I got put in. And that's the one I joined and I did. And honestly, I think that was set up by God too, because I feel like if I would have joined any other outfit, I probably would have quit, like straight up. Like I think I probably picked the one outfit that I wouldn't have quit. I wouldn't have quit. So you see how it goes. And I did it and just like it was hard. It was a tough experience, man. Going in there and day one, and just like, basically having like your first name taken away, and all this stuff, like having to only have like two tiles to walk on in a hallway. Every time you enter into the hallway from your dorm room, you have to greet the upperclassmen. Like basically it's very regimented. Like if anyone did like old school like fraternities, back in the day, like very strict rules and traditions and stuff like that that you had to go through, you had to abide by. Um, which again, I knew that to a certain extent. I just didn't know how deep it got until I joined the program. Where I'm like, oh shit, that first day, I felt it. Like I got yelled at my first fucking day, dude. Like it was basically I didn't really know the extent of how formal you had to address your upperclassmen was. Um, so we had pull our phones over there on the bathroom on the kitchen, not on the bathroom, but like the sink we had in our rooms because we didn't have a bathroom. There was a public bathroom on each floor that you had to go through. You had to go in your shower gear, is what it was called, basically your shower stuff. You had to go walk across to your two tiles if you lived on that opposite side of the doorway of the hallway, and walk across the tiles, stick to your two tiles, all the way to the bathroom, greet every single upperclassman in there. If another upperclassman came out in that time, you had to go run with we were called fish, with your fish buddies to go square up in a small little group, face the upperclassmen, address them, howdy, Mr. So and so, sir or ma'am, in order of their rank or basically their class. So you address the seniors first, then the juniors first, and then like sophomores last. And you had to do their names in order. And if you fucked that up, you'd have to give basically an I'm sorry statement, like a memorized, like one sentence long statement of like, I'm sorry for messing this up. I forgot how it was because it was like 5 years ago. But there's like an exact statement you had to say every time you made a mistake, and you had to say that in unison. And if you didn't say that in unison, you had to apologize for that and then make the corrective statement for their names, and then after that, you can go to the bathroom. So literally every time you walked into the fucking hallway, it was like a mini game. And you're like, am I gonna be in this hallway for like 2 minutes or 10 minutes? I don't know. And the shitty part is sometimes you'd be late for class. Sometimes you'd be late for class or make your upperclassmen late to where it's like they're trying to get to because you're stuck in the hallway trying to greet. Just trying to greet them for like fucking 5 to 10 minutes straight. And then sometimes they get so fed up, they'll just say, look, rest, just go where you need to go because they're also in a rush. So they can't really play these games. But 8 times out of 10, you were in that hallway trying to repeat that shit. So it was a nightmare just even just trying to go use the bathroom. Oh, like God, like do not hold your pee. Like if you have an inkling money to go use the bathroom, do that in advance. Otherwise, you might be in that fucking hallway about to piss yourself because you waited too late and you guys be stuck there greeting. And it's just yeah, but basically, going back to my story, I was they told us to kind of go start sweeping up our holes. Right, we didn't have rooms then because we were fish. Or freshmen, so we had holes instead of rooms. We don't get rooms until we're sophomores, so we had to go in our holes, quote unquote, our dorm rooms, and go sweep up and get everything clean and stuff like that. It was like our first kind of break-in training exercise, so to speak. And me, because like basically like as soon as the parents left, they went right into core mode, being like, okay, get your asses inside. And like all like the cheap little smiles and all the little fake small talk. That shit ended. It was business mode as soon as the parents left the campus. It was almost like, okay, they're gone. All right, now here's the thing. It's like they immediately start going into it. Like, oh shit, those motherfuckers faked us out. They fucking faked us out. But anyway, um, and yeah, they basically faked us out, hustled us inside, got us to start sweeping our rooms and like and put our phones on the counter, and until they got everything ready for the next training, where they basically told us that we didn't have names and all that whole long diatribe about how we're starting back from the bottom, yada yada. But basically, we started sweeping up and shit, and me trying to lighten the pressure because I use humor to deflect. I love doing that, and kind of help depressurize the situation. I was like, oh yeah, like this one junior told us, all right, start sweeping, like a very stern junior, which okay, juniors are they're not supposed to be as dickish as sophomores because sophomores were our direct trainers, so they were the assholes, so to speak. Juniors are supposed to be a little bit more chill, and then seniors are supposed to be even more chill than that, to where they almost don't give a fuck. Um, Junior is supposed to be kind of in that kind of middle balance, but this junior especially was known as like a gray belt, or basically known as someone in between a white belt, which is a freshman and sophomore, and a black belt who is a junior and a senior. A gray belt is someone who's like they should act like a junior where they're not much of a dick, but they can't seem to let go of that black belt mentality, so they're still kind of an asshole, even when they don't need to be. This is that guy that I was talking to. And he basically said to me and my roommate, or our old lady, it was what our roommate's name was in core terms. He was like, "Hey, yeah, start sweeping." And I basically looked at him And I got made fun of this shit for years. Still do. Whenever I meet up with my college buds, uh, and I basically looked at my superior, looked him right in the eyes, and I snapped my fingers and gave him the finger guns, and I said, "Roger that." And I didn't understand that I basically unloaded like the wrath of God, um, right there. I'd never seen like an angry or short person in my entire life. Which I think he had a little bit of an inferiority complex. I'm trying to go and shit on people, but legitimately, some people that have like that are not that tall, that have like they're just shorter people. They have complexes about their height, so therefore they overcompensate in different areas in order to make up for it. Um, and this is one of those cases where I felt like this was him. Uh, so I really pissed him off when I did that because apparently, which I didn't learn until later on with certain core rules, is that fish can't see through doorways, meaning that we had to pretend there's this like fucking barrier of cement or something to where literally cannot see what's on the opposite side of the door, but the upperclassmen can see into our door. So we can't just look through them and make eye contact at all. We're not allowed to use gestures. We're not allowed to use our hands or gestures. That is a sophomore privilege, is what it's called. So that's a rule that I broke. We're not allowed to drop sirs. So every time you make a statement, you have to put sir or ma'am at the end of the statement. And you're not allowed to speak unless you say, "Hello, Mr. So and so, sir. May I have permission to ask a question, ma'am or sir?" So you have to ask permission to make a statement, and then they have to say yes or no. And depending on that answer, then you can give the statement of what you want to say. And even when you say the statement, you still have to say sir or ma'am at the end of it. So that being said, I broke like five rules in the span of like 3 seconds with that sentence that came out of my mouth and the gestures I made. And I've never seen a man like more irate in my life. And mind you, I did like middle school football where they're kind of hard asses like a little bit, to where I kind of some wrath of coaches and stuff like that. I've never seen like a man get like this angry, and he just said, "I'm not your buddy." Sorry for those that are kind of listening on like a high volume. I just kind of shout out of nowhere, but like that was the shock. I just kind of that shock that you might have just felt. That's where I felt like my entire body, like chills running down my fucking spine. Where it's like I think I just pissed off like a small bear. It's just like he was so angry, so angry. Eye contact, face just like blood red, just like curdling, screaming at his throat. Be like, "I'm not your buddy." Pick up the broom, start sweeping. I'm like, "Oh shit!" I grab that broom, start sweeping fast, looking away from him, and I'm just like, and my old lady's like, "What are you doing?" He says like mouthing under his words, like, "What the hell are you doing?" And I'm just like, "Oh my god!" Like that shook everything. Like my foundation quarter, where it's like I didn't understand like what I had gotten myself into until that moment. That was like my oh shit moment of like, what the fuck did I just join? It's like, what did I just do? That I was like crashing out in my head to where it's like, oh, I fucked up. I royally fucked up. I royally fucked up, man. And that whole day was just like of this oh shit moments to where it's like, well, I gotta do this. I gotta wear my uniform everywhere. I have to adjust all these stupid rules. I have to watch out for the stupid bullshit on campus. Like, I'm like, I have to basically greet upperclassmen off campus, and if I don't, they can like chew me out wherever the fuck I go. To where it's like I can't even hide from these motherfuckers. It's like, oh my god, dude. Like I'm just like, it's almost like this is gonna sound so terrible, but imagine being like in like a fascist military state to where it's like everything you do and say is like being observed and recorded, and you have to wear like prison guard uniform, prison guard. That's what it felt like. At least to me, it was. I know people that did do the core that enjoyed it, and my other buddies would be like, "Oh my god, Nick, you're being such a bitch. Like you're over exaggerating about this stuff." And I'm like, "Okay, well that's great for you guys. Here's how I fucking felt. Okay, this is how shit. This sucked. I'm like, oh my god, dude. I felt like a prisoner in my old college experience that I'm paying for. That I'm like, I'm paying money for this shit. Dude, like, oh my god, I'm paying to get my ass kicked. Jesus. And I remember sitting in my bed that night to where it's like, I gotta get the fuck out of here. I can't do this, man. This is fucking awful. This is terrible. This is gonna be the most miserable 4 years I ever had before in my life. And that's really why I kept repeating myself to where it's like, I have to do this shit for 4 years. Like if you do like a difficult circumstance for like like a week or two, I can make it through that. I feel like you can do anything for about like a week, and you'll probably be okay, right? But in my head, I was like, I gotta do this shit for 4 years straight. I'm gonna cry. I can't do this. I'm like, this is insane. Who the fuck would willingly sign up for this? Oh, I know, my dumbass. I would. I'm like, oh my god, this is. Oh yeah. So basically, so safe to say, the next time I was there, next morning I was there to get my phone, talk to my parents before like they made us, back into slaves again. I was just like, guys, I can't. I made a mistake. I made a mistake. I gotta get out of here now. Get me out of this fucking program. I can't do this. I didn't curse for my parents. I never would. But they were like, yeah, Nick, you're staying. Like at the very least, you're staying like this initial week or two, just to get through it, and then we can have a conversation after the fact. But like we're not, we just dropped you back off. We're not coming back around just to pick you up. That's not gonna happen. So you get to tough it out. And like in my mind, I was so angry. I was just so fucking fierce. Where it's like y'all stuck me here. Like I'm not sure if y'all ever seen Cars, like with like Lightning McQueen and stuff like that, where like he first got to Radiator Springs and they got him strapped to like the fucking big tar machine to try to pave the road. And just like he's like, hey, you gotta get me out of here. And they're like, oh no, buddy, nice try. You ain't going anywhere. He's like, bro, get me out of here right now. I am in hillbilly hell. Like that's exactly how I felt, dude. Like I remember rewatching Carl a few years later. I was like, bro, that's exactly how I felt freshman year in college, dude. I was like, I am in hillbilly hell. I need to get the fuck out of here as soon as humanly possible. Like, oh my God. Um, but and like I was just so distraught that my parents were not bailing out of the situation. Which looking back, I'm glad they didn't, because again, if they did, I think I would have been cheapened out of the character growth and stuff that I've kind of developed and fostered in myself from going through this terrible fucking experience. But I wouldn't have learned the strength if I hadn't gone through the circumstance, right? It's kind of like when you go to the gym, it's like you don't really know how much you can lift until you try to lift it. Like some people might be severely not under lifting what they should be because they don't challenge themselves with heavier weight. Like I'm now like close to like the 40-pound dumbbells of using them, and I remember at a time where like I was afraid of using the 30, and it's like, well, I mean, if I don't but then I remember one day I was like, you know what? I'm just going to try the 30. And I did it for a few reps and it was fucking exhausting. But then eventually got to the point to where lifting the 30s felt like lifting the 20s and the 25s. Like I felt like, oh, okay, this isn't too bad. So it's like, it's one of those things where like, you don't really know how strong you are until you test that strength. And then you keep testing it. And then you build more strength and more consistency to where you can now take on more. Like, even though the core cadets fucking sucked, if I hadn't done it, I'm not sure if I would have had the discipline to do like my cold call sales job, which that's also a whole nother story and experience I got to talk about. I mean, I've talked about it a little bit on this podcast, but I haven't gone that much in depth with it. But that was a whole fucking season in of itself. But then I had learned the sales skills from that job to do the job that I do now, to where I make enough money to where again I can afford a home. So it's like it's those things where the strength of character that got fostered in me from doing that experience carried over to my later experiences where I was able to build upon that strength to where I can take on more responsibility and more uncertainty and not have that collapse in on myself. Um, but yeah, I tried to get out of it. Parents said no. And so I stuck it out for those 2 weeks, those two training weeks. And then school year started. Um, and then the school year was okay initially. But then, the real test came around to where it's like, finals times, midterms to finals and all that stuff. And things started to ramp up school wise. And that was being stressful. Which I may have separate episode talking about the more of the education side than the core side. But even to the education side, like in college, at least from my high school experience going to college, in high school, they kind of taught you what you need to know. And you just went home, did the bullshit homework assignments, came back, and just regurgitated what you learned in class the previous day. Like, I didn't really have that much of a hard time in high school, besides maybe one or two classes that gave me a little bit harder time. I had to kind of actively try in, like physics and maybe like world history or some shit. But most of the time, I didn't have to work too hard to get pretty successful and get pretty good grades, right? In college, fuck that shit. They basically kind of tell you what you need to know, and then you have to go home on your own and actually learn that shit. It was a whole different. They're not spoon feeding you anything. So I was like, oh, okay. So I'm no longer the smartest kid on the block because A&M's filled with a bunch of smart kids. Like they usually only take like top 10% of admins or something like that. So like you're already surrounded by cream of the crop individuals like yourself. So you're no longer intellectually special. So fuck. And then after that, they don't really teach you. Like the teachers there are shit. I mean, some of them are. Some are good. Some are bad. Um, but like again, they don't really spoon feed things to you. Like they teach you general concepts, but then if you're showing those concepts, you either have to do the extra practice on your own time through homework or come into the office hours. But like the shit with like, at least because I was a physics major at the time, that shit was hard. It was like hard, hard. So I was trying to go through that stuff on top of going to the core cadet stuff. And then through midterms and finals around that point in time, there's a point called Hell Week. Because basically how the core works is that you start out very hard in a basic training period, then things kind of die down as you get used to the initial college experience. And then they kind of start ramping things up little by little up until the end of the first semester, to kind of basically kind of make things harder on you, which things were hard enough, obviously. So now things get harder throughout the year, to the point where it gets to what's called Hell Week, to where everything about the core is essentially dialed up to 11. So every standard, every physical training exercise, every engagement you have with the upperclassmen, even the juniors that were laid back, they start acting like assholes. So it's like, oh, sorry, it's Hell Month. But each week it gets progressively worse. And I'm just like, oh, so things weren't bad enough already, and my grades weren't already suffering enough already. And now it's not, and now now the course is gonna get even fucking harder. Great. So I was going through Hell Month, and I think I was like in like week 3, going on week 4 of Hell Month, and I was just getting my shit kicked in. Like it was bad. Like every upperclassman was up your ass. Every training time felt like a tornado drill. It's like they just, I mean, basically it was because they would go in there, just tear the fuck out of your room, like just kind of like under your bed, like just to go in your drawers, like, you know, just, the shit's not full in your drawers, they just take stuff out. It's like they're just rampaging your room, like fucking up all your shit. And you're just like, and then they berate you about it at the top of their lungs, screaming at your face, like spit just landing like right beneath your fucking nostrils, dude. You can almost taste that shit, and you're supposed to just sit there and just take it, and you're just like, oh my god, like can this shit end? And it's just for like an hour straight. And then after that, every mistake you make, you have to do like fucking 10 to 15 fucking push-ups. Like, holy shit. Sorry, not 10 to 15, 21, because that's my class. That's my graduation year. So wherever your graduation year is, that's how many push-ups you have to do. And they might say, okay, give me a class set, or give me 2 class sets, as in do 42 push-ups right the fuck now. Right the fuck now. So it's like, oh my God. So it's just, it was awful. So there's like multiple training times throughout the week. And then on campus, when you're just going through your classes, upperclassmen were just going all out on you if you mess up a greeting. And then it's like the training times were, or the physical stuff was harder in the morning. Band stuff, all that fun stuff, because even the core stuff translated to the band stuff. So even on the field when we're doing musical stuff, we're supposed to be like a little bit more low key. Even there would be like a little bit more like dickish on the band field too. So that no matter where you went, it was just a shitty time. So I just remember just one day during the midst of Hell Month, again, I think it was like in the middle of the third week, I was just going down like a military walk, trying to go to like one of my afternoon classes. I forgot what class it was. And I was just beaten. Like I felt I was spiritually beaten. I was done. I was like, dude, my grades suck. I'm on academic probation. Um, I don't know if I even like my fucking major. The core is like the worst experience I've ever had to endure in my entire fucking life. Um, and I just don't know what the fuck I'm doing, dude. I'm just fucking miserable. And I guess the worst part about experience is like I didn't really know how to open up about how I was struggling. Like I didn't really kind of learn that skill until like a little bit later on. So at this first semester, I was basically kind of taking all this stuff on my own. Like there was other people going through my similar circumstances, but I wasn't really being fully emotionally open with what I was struggling with because again, I just had this whole masculinity mindset like, oh, I got to carry my own burden. I don't want other people to see me weak or see me cry, so I'm just going to take it on the chin, right? And I was having a hard fucking time, and it was just was not going my way. And I didn't have anyone to really kind of rely upon outside of my family, which my family, they basically told me, hey Nick, stop calling here every week, trying to get out the core. You're staying, suck it up. Like my dad, like he literally told me, I remember talking to my mom, and my dad took the phone, he's like, Nick, stop calling here, trying to get out of this. You're staying. That's it. End of discussion. I'm like, shit. Like which again, if I really wanted to, I could have quit. I just really I could have went against their wishes. But at that time, I didn't have the strength and character to go against my parents' wishes as I did a little bit later on. But again, different story for a different day. But yeah, I was already going through a tough time. I didn't really have anyone I could really talk to about this stuff. So I just kind of felt alone and beaten and like almost like a failure to where it's like my classes aren't going well. I'm not even sure if I want to do this with my future. And I just don't feel happy, man. I just feel fucking miserable. And I'm just going down military walk, almost like in a daze, just like I'm just waiting for time, just waiting for these days to pass by and for my life to change somehow. And then there's this kind gentleman. So I'm not gonna give his name just for privacy's sake. But he was like, "Hey, sir, are you doing all right?" And again, in my moment of honesty, which again, I was just so emotionally distraught. I was just like, "No." Typically, I'd be like, "Yeah, yeah, I'm good," and just kind of give like a little fake smile and a wave or some shit, and just go about my business. But this time, I couldn't even fake it. Like, I couldn't even muster up the strength just to bullshit the fact I'm okay. I just couldn't. And I was like, "No, I'm not. I'm miserable. I'm terrible. I'm going through hell month right now in the core, and it's the worst it's ever been, and I'm just not having a good time." And he's like, "Okay, well, I mean, do you want someone to pray for you? Can I pray for you real quick?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I would love that. I would love for you to do that. That'd be great. That'd be great." And we just sat there in military walk, and we just kind of prayed together. Um, and that experience still stuck with me today because I was just the sheer kindness of someone recognizing the fact that I was having a hard time. Again, I think it was purposeful that God, he wanted to send someone my way to let me know that your suffering is not, I'm not suffering in unknowingness. Like, I'm not suffering in abandonment. Like, basically God letting me know that I'm still here with you in this circumstance, but in a way to where it's like I'm not going to take you out of this circumstance. Like, you're still going to have to go through the storm, right? But I'm not going to abandon you in this storm and make you walk it alone. I don't want you to feel that way. Because honestly, I was kind of feeling that way spiritually, where it's like I feel like I'm sinking here and there's no one here to lift me up. And I think I'm gonna drown. Like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to overcome this one, which is my greatest fear, to where it's like, what if there's a challenge that I have to overcome that I'm not able to? Then what? Like, I don't know what to do. And that's why I felt like that moment where I didn't know what the fuck to do. And it's almost like at my lowest, there was someone that came and saw me struggle. And he was like, "Hey, we have Bible studies on campus. There's a lot of other core people that come here and join it. I would love for you to come to join one of these sessions, just to kind of help give you a little bit of break from the core and be around, like, different people, and just be able to relax for a little bit, kind of let your hair down, so to speak." And I'm like, "You know what? I think I'm going to take you up on that." And I did. And I went to the Bible study. I met him and his friends. He's like an older gentleman. He's like probably in his mid 30s, late 30s, something like that. And he didn't go to A&M, but he basically kind of helped become part of this missionary group on campus that kind of helped spoke to students. They held kind of sessions on campus. They held little events and cool socials off campus to where you kind of go and eat, is hang out with people that aren't in the fucking core, because the only problem being in the core is that people talk about core shit all the goddamn time. And it's just like sometimes you just need a fucking break from the weirdos. Okay. I love my core friends. I love my buds. Don't get me wrong. But sometimes it's like I just want something else to fucking talk about besides how much of the shit we're in on a daily basis. Um, and it was nice just kind of being there and just kind of praying, and like, even though like physically and mentally I was kind of going through it, having that church group and that Bible study group kind of gave me a sense of some spiritual peace. Like, it kind of it took some of the pressure off of me internally, I felt like. um, and I think being able to go to that consistently on like on a weekly basis, having someone to talk to, and that guy that prayed with me kind of became like my kind of spiritual mentor, to where it's like, I talked to him, sometimes I texted him, kind of called him. We went out for lunch and dinner. He'd tell me, "So Nick, what's going on? What's going on in life?" I'm like, "All right, well, I'm having class trouble. I'm having core trouble. I'm having girl trouble. And we would talk this stuff through, and he would give me some spiritual teachings and some verses for me to reflect on, and he would just kind of be there with me through the storm while I was going through this stuff. And honestly, I even to this day, like, I remember meeting up with him like about like a year or two ago with like a dinner with him and his wife and his family, which he would actually open his house for me and other students to kind of go to, and we have dinner there, and we go there to talk about the Bible and stuff like that. Like, and I met up with him, and like we had a nice conversation and kind of catch up and everything. And I said, I really appreciate everything you did for me back in that season of my life because I was really going through it, and you helped me really keep going. Um, and I really appreciated that. And I just say that is to say to where it's like, I the core cadets was hard, but I felt like throughout my experience, every time I wanted to give up, God kind of gave me a little nudge and a little push to where, like, I know things are hard right now, but trust me, you're on the right path, and I want you to keep going. Like, it wasn't like a literal, he didn't say that to me literally. Like, to be honest, I never heard God speak to me in literal, like, English language words. That has never physically happened to me, but I felt like in a spiritual sense, he was kind of giving me the intuition of like, hey, I know things are tough, but just stick it out. Okay, this is all leading somewhere. I'm not just putting you through this stuff for the sake of putting you through it. This is good for you. It doesn't feel that way, but this is good for you. And I trusted in that. I trusted in that message all 4 years. And even each year, my experience at the core was different, because I felt like the hardest part of freshman year was just the core and getting used to college. The hardest part of sophomore year was like, okay, what does it look like to where it's like I'm taking my grades more seriously, my future more seriously, and like my relationship, I got into a relationship, was having a relationship with other people look like more seriously. And that's why I started branching out and making more of my core friends and getting a girlfriend and all that stuff. And my junior year, it's like, okay, now it's decision time. What kind of man, what kind of person do you kind of want to be? Like you had to kind of start choosing, like, your major, like you kind of get into physics. Do you want to stay here? Do you want to move? It's like my girlfriend I got broken up with at that time. My relationship didn't work out. Um, and then it's like I felt like the core stuff got a little bit easier because I was more used to it. But then we had to take on more leadership positions within the core. And I was like, I was on the PR chain. So I had to kind of balance, okay, what does it mean to like, be in charge of PR and having people under me and giving them instructions while trying to lead myself in this new field, while trying to balance my coursework, while trying to balance heartbreak, while trying to balance a major change, while trying to balance how to fuck that tell my parents I want to change my fucking major. Holy shit, that's another whole other conversation. Um, and then senior year was like, okay, well now we kind of reached it to the end, but what's gonna be my after? Like who is Nicholas Salter outside of A&M, outside the core? Where am I moving towards in my future? And what and how am I going to reflect on these lessons that I've learned to kind of help compose this new version of myself that I am, right? Kind of like a new beginnings kind of thing. So every year my college experience was kind of different, had like a different motif or like a different theme. But every time I feel like God just kind of he showed me what he needed to show me and introduced me to the people I needed to meet, and the lessons I needed to learn to foster my development as a person, even if I couldn't see it at that point in time. And now looking back at it, 5 years later, which is crazy to think about, uh, even though I still remain the fact that it sucked and I hated it, I have not changed on that. I still think that it was good for me to go through because I learned that I don't have to carry weight all by myself. That it's good to open up to other people and share your burdens and share the sandbag. Like there were times where we ran around the campus and we had 10 sandbags amongst like the 20 of us. And we had to like, hey, you got to carry the sandbag all the way around campus, but guess what? You're not gonna be able to do that. Like physically, you probably won't be able to do that on your own. You have to learn how to rely on your buddies and share the weight, so all of you can make it through, right? So there's a lesson in that to where it's like you're not meant to carry everything in life by yourself. You have to learn how to give some of that weight to your loved ones, give some of that to God, so you don't crush yourself with this burden of expectations and performance that you have in your life. Um, so I learned a lot, and I remember like my freshman year. I think it was probably around Christmas time, where I was coming back home for break, and I was talking to my dad about it, to where it's like, yeah, I'm trying to stick it out, but Dad, I'm telling you, it's hard, and like this is the hardest thing I've ever gone through before in my life, and sometimes I'm just not sure if I'll be able to make it all the way through. And then my dad was like, well, son, I mean, here's the thing. It's like you feel like you're not ready for the stuff you're going through now, but it's like you don't have to be fully ready for something before you start doing it. You can get ready in the moment. Like, you can't always run away from things. It's like sometimes you have to rise up to it. And that was the thing. I think in those 4 years, God was asking me to rise as a person. He's basically saying that the Nicholas Salter that you were before, it's not sufficient for what I have planned for you. I need you to grow as a person and your capacity of what you can handle, what you can take on, what you can overcome. So I can give you bigger challenges, bigger responsibilities. So I can give you your greater purpose over time as you get older. And I feel that now. I feel like that was a hard time, but it was a time where he kind of reinforced my spirit and my conviction into taking on these challenges. Because honestly, after going to the core, like I've been through challenges, other challenging circumstances in my life, but I felt as though I could do it. Like the core kind of gave me some confidence to face difficult challenges and adversity in my life. I feel like. Um, and strengthen my confidence in myself of being able to help lead myself and other people as well. And that me knowing that I've kind of been through some bullshit, it makes me feel like a little more hair on my chest that I know what I'm talking about, which is why, hell, I wouldn't sure if I've had the gusto to even make a podcast and share my personal experiences if I hadn't gone through these difficult circumstances. So, um, yeah, I know this episode's running over to an hour, which honestly I didn't expect it to be this long. I thought it was gonna be like maybe 30 minutes, even 20 minutes. But I started going to core stories, and I have a bunch of these fucking stories I can share over the course of time. But I just wanted to kind of touch upon my testimony that I kind of experienced in college, where it wasn't like a grand, like I saw God like in a vision, like what some people experience. It was just more like I felt His presence kind of help guide my directions and footsteps as I navigated through my adversity and these things that I faced in my life. Um, and I think it'll set me up for even greater things that's even down the line that I don't even know about now. So this is why I made this podcast and this show, was to kind of help those that might be going through their own transformative years and their own transformative experiences, and show them like, hey, I know things are tough right now, but believe me, trust me, they would get better. Like honestly, if you have time, go back and listen to my first episode, my first couple episodes where I talked about this. Those literally me in college. Those were my college years, kind of going through what I was going through, and and kind of listen to how I talk then compared to how I talk now. And it's like it's an I don't want to say it's a night and day difference, but you can kind of tell. And I think going back to my future self, which I am now, my future self again, which is weird to think about. The course sucked, but it's good for you, not in a way to where it's like it feels good, but like kind of like eating vegetables that are like not a lot of salt on them. That's not too baked to where it's like this is the most vitamin rich that vegetable is. Like it doesn't taste that good, but this is the healthiest version of what you can eat. It's like yeah, it doesn't taste good, but it's good for you, and you'll recognize that later on over time. Just stick with it. And that's what I'm saying to all you right now that might be having a hard time is that I think if you can stick with it, I think you'll see the fruits of the hard work and hard labor pay off. It's just a season of life right now, and those seasons end. I remember looking at my holiday calendar my freshman year of like, oh my God, I still have another 2 months left until Christmas break. I'm not sure if I'll make it out. This is gonna take fucking forever. And here I am, like from freshman year to now, it's like 9 years. Shit, God, I'm old. That's like, yeah, almost like 9 to 9 years. I'm like, man, yeah, it wasn't, I felt like forever ago. And in that moment in time, I thought it was going to take forever for me to get out of that circumstance. And it didn't. Those days passed, those midterms passed, those finals passed, those hard physical exercises and training times and 9 mile fucking hike there and back, all that shit, it passed. Everything I was scared of facing and encountering, it passed. And I did it. I made it. Sometimes I failed. Sometimes I didn't do what I wanted to do. Sometimes I had to take one on the chin, metaphorically. But guess what? I healed. I got better. You know, out of every test I fucking failed, that I thought, oh my God, this is the end of my college career. I'm gonna work at fucking McDonald's. I'm gonna be a fucking obese loser. Um, live in my parents' basement for the rest of my life. Like this is it. Like I lost my life because I failed this one test. It's over. My life is over. No, that's not how life works. You might fail every once in a while, but does not mean you're a failure. Right? It's one little footnote, barely a footnote in your life story to where guess what? You'll look back at 10 years from now and recognize it's really not that big a deal. Like it did not change who you were as a person. It does not change the value of who you are as a person, regardless of the circumstances that you're currently going through. Your value remains unchanged. Um, but yeah, I think even though it was difficult, I think God showed me a lot through those experiences. And, hopefully we all have our own testimonies that in our own lives that we kind of were able to endure and make it through and learn and grow and learn from, that we can share with other people and help give them encouragement and faith to move forward productively and well in their own life circumstances. Right. That's why I'm sharing this with you today. But I think we'll probably end that here. A little bit over an hour, but yeah, hopefully, for those listening, you kind of got some out of this, and I hope that whatever you're going through now, currently, you can hold your head high and recognize that it's not going to last forever, and that it'll make you stronger as a person. You can learn from this, you can grow from this, and you can share that knowledge and wisdom that you gained with other people to help strengthen them, and that'll help make the world a better place. Because I think if you strengthen the individual, you'll strengthen the collective, and then the world is stronger because of it. So, but anyways, I want to thank you guys for listening. Keep your eye out for new episodes coming down the pipeline. Always give me some comments, let me know some ideas or some different things you want to hear about, some different guests that you want to listen from. But like always, I hope you guys have a great rest of your week, and keep it real. Appreciate it.